Hi everyone, welcome to week 5. I have a lot to say. I'm very passionate about this question, so I want to get right into it. But what is the best age to get married, to settle in a career, or to have a baby? My first answer right away would be that my answer does not matter to anyone else other than myself. I got my undergrad at 19. And so I know what it's like to be told that I don't know what I'm doing, or that I'm making decisions too big for how old I was. So I just think that telling people that they can't do something or that they shouldn't do something according to their age isn't really appropriate unless it's unsafe for them. I would also say the reasons to support my beliefs. I have a few reasons here, and I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget them. But first, the first thing that came to mind was the NSAW Code of Ethics that we follow as social workers. The first thing would be Standard 402, discrimination. This includes discrimination on age, family status, socioeconomic status, and culture. We cannot be assuming that someone is behind or doing too much just based on their age or their culture. It might be different for them. I would also say Standard 1.02, self-determination. Clients get to define their own goals and their own timelines and what they believe is best for them. And we get to support them in that and be their cheerleaders. But we don't get to tell them that they can or can't do something. I also would say being curious about like culture awareness and social diversity is also really important, as someone's culture may be that someone gets married younger or older, and making assumptions isn't super holistic in that way. And then I also wanted to pull up the reading by Alwyn this week. They talk about the life transitions and the effects that it has on health, and like being behind, that feeling of being behind, or even early, like early parenthood, is obviously increases stress, reduces social approval or support, and limits access to stable resources. So it's hard. It's like balancing the good and the bad, it's a tough one. Like, some of those things do create harder scenarios, but I still don't think that we should be putting a certain age limit on certain things. I also was thinking about, when reading this question, Erikson's psychosocial stages of development. I really like Erikson's psychosocial stages, maybe because I did do a research project on it a long time ago, but I really love it. So I wanted to bring up the early adulthood from 19 to 29 years old, intimacy versus isolation. Like the overall description of that would be establishing intimacy and relationships with others. When we hear that description, we automatically think, oh, during that stage, 19 to 29, we should be, or the people in this stage should be getting married or being in a long-term relationship. However, I think, especially in a social work lens, intimacy and relationship with others can mean so many things. Friendships, deep family relationships, even relationships at work, relationships with siblings, parents. I mean, there's so many things that I think could fall into the intimacy and isolation stage, and it still be like a successful stage. I would also say the middle age from 30 to 64 is to contribute to society and be a part of a family. When we read that, we often think, oh, be a part of a family, like have a family of your own, be married and have a child or children. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could be being a part of a church family, being a part of your nieces and nephews' lives, or let's see, some other ones, your cousin's children, or your community, volunteering at a school, there's lots of ways that we can contribute to society and be a part of a family during those years. And I think when we read these as a culture and as a society, we often put our lens as what we think of in like a small unit family, when this can be so much bigger and have so many other implications. So I wanted to point that out because I thought that was really important. And then I felt like there was one more part of the question I should ask. Oh, do you think society holds different standards than men and women? I would argue yes, for a few reasons. I did a research project in my undergrad where I looked at I'm running really long. That's okay. I'm going to wrap this up really fast. But I did a research project on men and women and the difference between finding a job around the ages of 45 to 50, and like presenting like the way that they presented in wrinkles, gray hair. And I found that it was significantly harder for women in ages 45 to 50 to find jobs than it was for men. This is just like a very small scale, but it does show that sometimes there are different standards for men and women. And I definitely feel that, especially for the marriage, settling in a career, and having a baby. Marriage and baby are probably more female oriented, while settling in a career is definitely more male dominated and male oriented. That's my opinion. I probably could find some research based for that, but I hope that helps.